Alright, okay, good evening everyone. Welcome back to the new year. Okay, so this is the very first live stream that we're doing over here for the year of 2024. So again, hope you guys have a good break over the holiday season on Christmas as well as New Year. Okay, and hope you guys are keeping yourself updated in terms of the developments of the market. Hey, just last week going into today, we had a couple of good trade setups, and of course, managed to write on some trades as well, namely on the crude oil side of things as well as the gold side, right? So always kind of highlight that even though it's the holiday season, right? We may not be very active in executing trades. It's always very important to stay on the ball, keep yourself updated in the market, so that when opportunity arise, you'll be able to immediately take action from there. Okay. So as usual, to get started, for the session over here, we'll be covering the outlook for the week, some of the events to take note of, and then from there, I'll jump into the charts to highlight some of the opportunities that you. Okay, the connection was a little bit unstable just now, but I think we're back connected. Right. Yeah. So I was saying that it's important to keep an eye on the outlook, and then of course to kind of highlight the opportunities that you want to keep an eye on as we progress for the week. Okay. So quick one disclaimer, of course, everything that we're covering over here solely based on my personal opinion, right? It doesn't directly constitute to any form of investment advisory or trade advice, right? And of course, do be aware that trading involves risks. Okay, so just make sure of those. Okay, good. So with that said, let's take a look at the events calendar on the page over here. You can see. Okay, this week, I mean, a quick one on last week first, right? In case you missed out. Last week was a relatively short week because Monday and Tuesday basically is the new year. But we have a pretty good run on the NFP. Okay, so for some of you who managed to join in our live trade for NFP, we'll kind of share with you how to trade the high impact news. We traded both the Canadian news as well as the dollar news, and both easily hit our targets within a minute. Okay, kind of managed to trade on CAD yen as well as the dollar yen. So for those of you who managed to join in for that live trade session, hopefully pick up something. Okay, so we did see the dollar data pretty strong over here. Okay, so the instant when the news came out, the dollar actually strengthened. But of course, we do see some kind of like whipsaw, which I think is not surprising because it's still fairly new going into the year. Liquidity may not be that high and things like that, right? So we did see that whipsaw coming in post NFP, right? Which later on we look at the charts, you'll be able to look at that as well. Okay, so this week, we do have a couple of important data coming in. On Wednesday, we have the Australia CPI year on year. Okay, so naturally that's going to be still significant in terms of inflation. Then on Thursday, we have the US core CPI year on year. Of course, that's going to be significant as well. And then building into Friday, we have the pound GDP. Okay, this is just a month on month, so it's not going to be like super significant. Then we have a little bit on the US side in terms of core PPI as well as PPI. Okay, so I think the focus for this year and for this week in terms of the events would likely be the Australia CPI as well as the US CPI. Okay, so not a very event heavy week, but again, these two CPI data may have some impact in the market anyways. Okay, so with that said, let's jump into the charts. Okay, let's very quickly run through this is the dollar index, right? So you can see over here, post NFP, sorry, right? Can't get a whipsaw, right? So the initial reaction was a strong move to the upside, and after that it came back down. Okay, now short term, short term here we're looking at for the next maybe 1 or 2 days. There's a good possibility the dollar will continue to slide a little bit. Okay, from a technical point of view, as a potential correction or a potential pullback, right? So basically what we're seeing here is a potential WXY structure developing. Okay. So we're expecting a little bit of a corrective pullback. If we can get that maybe back towards that 618 Fibonacci retracement area, then that's the area that we're going to look out for a potential buy trade back towards where wave 4 territory is, which is around 104.25 zone. Okay, so the pullback, okay, short term here we'll be looking at a potential buy opportunity, right? We'll look at it as a potential buy opportunity for the dollar itself. Okay, now overall, I think the bigger directional bias point of view is still bearish eventually. But I think for the first month or two going into this year, hey, we may see dollar kind of recover a little bit. And then from a technical point of view, and of course combining a little bit of macro and fundamental, if the Fed starts to pivot really into a easing policy mode, then of course we can see the dollar continue to weaken for the most part of the year, right, moving forward. And then we have the euro, right? So kind of like the inverse of the dollar index. So of course you can see here, we have a push down, pretty impulsive, right, from the high at 1.1139. So right now we're kind of expecting a little bit of a corrective pullback, in the next 1 or 2 days. If you can get a pullback towards that 50 and 618 zone, that will be a very nice little sell opportunity, right? So naturally, euro dollar will be one of the pair that you want to pay a little bit more attention this week. Okay, because that's where you may get that sell trade opportunity with a target back down towards 1.00725, right, which is where wave 4 territory is. Okay, so again, look out for sell setups on the euro. Okay, so you can actually go down to the hourly, go down to smaller time frame to look for that valid entry to get involved in the sell side. Okay. Pound dollar over here for me is a little bit of a mix. Okay, my primary view right now is upside here, right? Because what I'm seeing is essentially this as a push, and then this is basically in a huge consolidation phase. So one of the clearest structure I can see right now is basically an expanding flat ABC. So if that's going to be an ABC, then of course we're going to expect more upside to complete the larger degree wave 3, right? Or the white color wave 5 over here. But at the same time, what can eventually turn out to be is that this can continue to crawl. Okay, and if that's going to be, then this would change its structure eventually if that's going to be a slow move to the upside, right? So if it changes the entire structure over here, then of course we'll be expecting more downside or a deeper pullback. Okay, so a bit on the neutral side of things. The primary forecast is due to the upside, but I'm going to be cautious on that, right? Because as I mentioned, the structure can shift depending on how the market is going to continue to develop from here on. Okay, so not so straightforward in terms of the direction, but okay, primary focus is due to the upside if you can get any opportunity. Okay, Aussie is quite clear. So Aussie dollar and Euro dollar, we're basically looking at the downside. Okay, Aussie dollar here, if I stretch out a little bit, we are seeing that the market from this recent low all the way to the top may have completed its 5-wave move, right? Or I would say a larger degree first push to the upside. So we're kind of expecting a deeper pullback here, right? We kind of got the first push down. So if you can get a corrective push here to the upside, a correction, a retracement, that would kind of coincides very nicely with this potential move back down towards the zone, and then after that further upside. Okay, so we do have the Australia CPI coming in on Wednesday as well. So ideally, if you kind of combine these two factors, right, from a technical point of view as well as the news catalyst event point of view, if you can get a pullback, developed by end of tomorrow going into CPI, that might also provide a catalyst to the downside. All right. So Aussie dollar this week naturally is something that you also want to pay a little bit more attention to look for sell setups, right? Then with the dollar CAD is pushing up. Okay, pretty neat since the end of the year going into the new year. After it completed this 5-wave down, right? In orange in 5, right? So in white is the larger degree third wave. So we're kind of expecting a deeper pullback, right? And that's what we're expecting right now, or I would say what we're witnessing right now. Okay, what we are seeing here on dollar CAD is that this is basically the first push. So essentially, there's a good possibility we'll see another pullback, and then another push, right? Because we always anticipate the market to move in waves of 3, right? It may or may not be But again, what I'm looking here is if this just keeps going, then of course we obviously wouldn't want to still buy it if the market can't test the area already. But if from here the market decides to pull back, hey, that will be also a decent buy opportunity to the upside, because that will give us that three-wave structure. Okay. So dollar Canadian, pretty much also in my watch list with the euro as well as the Aussie, right? So we're looking at the dollar strength in the near term. Right. Dollar yen, it's also quite clear in terms of the overall structure, right? But this probably need to give it a little bit more time, because we kind of did our reverse push. If we can get a corrective pullback, we'll expect one more pushback up, then the major downside. Okay, now dollar yen short term is upside, but I think if you look at it from a larger time frame perspective, okay, we are overall still bearish on this, because this little pullback here is simply a retracement of this move, and we can continue to see more downside after which. Okay, this is mainly from a macro and fundamental point of view, where we are expecting the overall value of the dollar to continue to weaken throughout the year. At the same time, there might be a surprise element in a potential shift in the monetary policy of Bank of Japan, creating some potential uncertainty in the market as well, and being a safe haven, the yen itself may see some significant strong move, and therefore the dollar yen may actually continue to slide potentially quite aggressively, I would say, for most part of this year. But again, the market is never going to move in one direction all the time, right? So that's the part where we can always capitalize on both sides of things, right? So if we can see a clear opportunity, at least in the short to mid term for upside, we'll still leverage on that, we'll still take that. And of course, we need to make sense whether risk reward is worthwhile and things like that, right? So the idea here is look out for area around 143.15 to 142.40. Right? If the market can't correctively pull back to this zone, that will be a very nice little opportunity to the upside. Okay, so that's on dollar yen. Definitely a couple of opportunities that you want to pay close attention, even at the very, very early stage of the year. Okay, gold here is coming down towards our key zone. Okay, I did a physical workshop sharing with some of the traders closer towards post-Christmas, like if I recall the date, it's like 28. Okay, back then gold price was somewhere there, right? Okay, and we're kind of covering that whenever you see a pattern structure like that, don't buy it anymore. There's a high possibility we'll do a reversal, and just 1 or 2 weeks in, we kind of see that pull back to the downside. So again, things that you can pick up, as we are sharing, is don't just look at the trade signal or trade idea directly, right? Always pick up mini points in which, like, why would I look at it that way? Okay, and I try my best to always explain the thought process so they can take away the skill set and not just the trade ideas or the trade signal. Okay, so the thing here again, whenever you see a corrective move in a particular direction, often it's telling you that it's a lack of momentum, and therefore a potential reversal is likely to come, right? And that's where you want to be very, very careful. Okay, and then of course another principle you often hear me explain is the three-wave principle, right? So the market tends to move in three. You can see here WXY 1, 2, 3. So of course over here this may also develop in three, and then after that this may continue to move higher, right? So gold is actually at a crossroad at the moment, right? This area here would be very, very significant. If the market actually do a corrective pullback around the zone, then this time explain the possibility where this can continue to drop, potentially even breaking that recent low to develop something like this. Okay. However, if the market starts to form a crawl pattern here, okay, or a V-shaped bounce here, then this suggests that we may see a little bit more upside to maybe come back and retest this high, okay, potentially to develop into this structure here, or it may even break and retest all the way back and starts to form all-time high. Okay, so we are at a crossroad, right? We are at a what we call a key area, okay, where we need to give the market a little bit more time to prove to us which has a higher probability of developing. Is it up or is it down? Okay, So this is my take on gold. Okay, you potentially want to just be a bit patient, but keep an eye on what's gonna develop next. Okay. Crude oil over here, we had a nice little buy trade that we kind of took profit. You know, hit our targets as it goes, and then right now it's doing a little bit of pullback. I think this little pullback did not change the overall structure. We're overall still expecting a three-wave move, right? 1, 2, 3. So again, we kind of get a push up. Right now, it may do a little bit of a consolidation here. It may even come back down, something like this. Retest the bottom of the channel over here. Then we need a push up. But overall structure, I think for crude oil still remains bullish, right? As long as price is able to respect this low, we're still expecting this three-wave move, and then after that, maybe a bigger move back down. Okay, so that's my take on crude oil. S&P, we did see a pullback as the year begins, but I think overall direction on S&P and equities market remains bullish. Okay, I think this year itself, the US market is going to be very, very bullish. From a macro point of view, when the Fed decides to cut rates, the Fed goes into easing policy, equities market tends to perform very well. Okay, it's kind of like irrelevant in terms of how the economy do, right? A lot of times people would have an understanding that if the economy is good, the markets will be good. If the economy is bad, the markets will be bad. Not really true in that kind of relationship, right? Because the equities market, the stock market doesn't move according to how well the economy is doing, right? If you truly understand macro liquidity, okay, that's what moves the market. Okay, if there's a flush of liquidity, the market will be bullish. If there is a lack of liquidity, the market will actually pull back, okay, or will go into a bearish mode. Right. So I think going into this year from a high interest rate environment, and the Fed is already starting to talk about cutting rates. We're looking at maybe March or even June. Then that's where the liquidity will start to kick back into the market. Okay, and when that happens, there's a very good possibility we'll just see another all-time high in the US equity scene. All right, so I think investing into the US markets this year will be fairly straightforward, right? And of course, ideally, you have already built up your portfolio. You know, you actually started seeing that since like December, November period. You know, the equities market has been booming in the US market because the conversation has already started talking about cutting rates since the end of the year. All right, so that's two. The pound and the Aussie yen over here, we're bearish for now. Okay, so pound yen here, we're looking at potentially a little bit more push to the upside to kind of complete this three-wave move, and of course we'll be looking at the sell side from there. Impulse correction, impulse break. Okay, so keep an eye on this area around 184.50. That will be a decent area to look for a sell. And of course Aussie yen here, we're expecting this structure 1, 2, 3. We kind of get a break. Okay, so on the lower time frame, you can see again the pattern tends to repeat where we have this little crawl. We get that impulsive break, so we basically want to wait for a pullback. Okay, if you can get a corrective pullback, that would naturally be a sell side to the down. Okay, the targets for the Aussie yen here is somewhere around 95.65, right? Or if you round out a little bit, it's about 95.70. As the price continue to come down, right, you want to be cautious around this zone because this can continue to bounce back up, right? So that will give you that 1, 2, 3. Okay, so take note. Okay, this would probably be the sell trade target. That's why it's a short-term bearish, right? It's not like a major sell side. Okay, pound Australia is outside. We're still waiting for the pullback. Okay, but this entire leg seems pretty impulsive for now. Okay, so we remain patient with a clear sense of direction, right? I think right now it's irrelevant to put in a fib. But we're still bullish. The idea is we want to wait for a decent pullback. Okay, before the commitment to the buy side of things, right? But the direction is very straightforward. We're likely looking for more upside. From a major point of view, okay, from a larger perspective, this may have completed this move. So this pullback here may be a little bit deeper towards maybe where this territory is. Okay, so if I can't pull the fits from swing high to swing low, yeah, probably back to where the 50% mark is, you can see, right? Which kind of coincides quite nicely to where this recent structure area is, right? So around 9280, okay? So pound Australia, direction is clear. We just need to be a little bit patient and wait for the pullback. And then, of course, we'll be looking at buy trade opportunity. Okay, maybe not something this week, okay, because for this to develop that pullback, we need to give it sufficient time. Okay, Euro Cat, we are overall bearish, but not the best. I think we won't have any setup here, right? Because this is basically a huge consolidation phase. Really nothing there at the moment. Okay, but we're still expecting a little bit downside as long as this stays, because we're looking at the structure where this is our one leg down. I mean, this can be quite complex, right? This can develop into maybe an expanding structure like that before the drop, okay, where our B wave can be here. So wave itself can evolve over time, right? So whenever we see things that are complex, we just stay out, we give it time, and as it develops into something that's clearer for us, then only we come back in. Okay, so that's why you see I don't really focus a lot on the Euro Cat for now, but I think the major pairs is where you want to allocate a little bit more attention for them this week. Okay, and of course odd yen. I think odd yen is quite clear right now as well. Okay, Bitcoin, I'm neutral. Bitcoin recently has a couple of news that are shaking the market, right? This little drop here is where we have that, again, quote-unquote news, where the Bitcoin ETF may get rejected, right? But again, you can see the market just do what it wants, right? I mean, we have a negative news. Yes, there's an initial reaction, but we're kind of recovering right now as well, right? So for me, I think you don't want to just trade simply based on one news, right? Or you don't want to make a decision just simply based on one piece of information. You always want to have your own personal take, right? And the more things that you look into, the more factors that are confluencing one another, the better it is, right? So for me, Bitcoin, I think from a chart perspective, it's just not clear. Okay, there's really no patterns there. There's no probability telling whether up or down. I'll just be neutral for now. But bear in mind that we have a Bitcoin halving event somewhere in April this year, right? So this is where I mark it out in April. Okay, so from now until then, you know, I would say you want to primarily focus on the buy opportunity, because historically, post halving means prices are likely to go higher, right? Okay, so from now until April is where the halving is going to take place, right? So from now until April, there's a good possibility that we may see some pullback, etc., and things like that, and that may give you a better opportunity to get involved, as a form of maybe investment into Bitcoin as well, right? Because the last halving was back in 2020, okay? And if you take a look at where the price was at 2020 and where the price was today, it has rallied quite significantly, okay? So would Bitcoin price rally again post halving this year? We won't know for sure, but there's a good chance it will, right? And that's where we're basing our kind of longer term directional bias on that. Okay, so those are some of the major ones that you want to keep an eye on. Okay, very quickly to just touch a little bit on the various global index, right? So this is the China A50. Okay, so right now it's actually coming down. Looking at this momentum here, probably you just want to wait for it to react around this low. See how the market is going to react there, right? Is it going to give you a double bottom before that push? If we don't have any sign where momentum is lacking or slowing down here, then that's a good possibility this will just continue to slide. Okay, and of course you can see very obviously between the US market as well as the I would say China market. Okay, the A50 is sliding, whereas the S&P is actually at the upside, right? So If you're looking at longer term of investment, I think probably the US market, as I mentioned, is always going to be easier. Okay, so maybe as a form of trade, you have opportunities in the down market and up market, but if you're looking at investment, then I think 850 may not be a good one. Okay, this is Hong Kong Hang Seng HSI, which is kind of similar as well. I think basically there's a good chance the market will just come back and tag that, right? Okay, because this one here is a structure that looks something like that. Okay, so there's a good chance the market will continue to slide a little bit more and retest this low here. Okay, so those are the ones. Silver, let's see. Okay, silver is probably quite similar to where gold is anyway, right? We kind of have completed this 3-wave move, right? The question now is for silver. Have this been completed, right? Will this bounce up? Okay, first area to look out for, of course, will it bounce up towards this area? Or will this just consolidate and continue to drop? Okay, because then if that's continue to drop, then this would develop into this 3-wave move, right? So quite similar to gold. Overall, it's at a crossroad. Okay, so I think silver probably not too much, right? You probably just want to look at gold, right? Again, you don't want to focus on too many things. Okay, because the more things on your plate, the easier it is to get distracted, and once you get distracted, you tend to make more mistakes, you make missed opportunities and things like that. Okay, so generally those are the things that I think it's worth noting that we've covered in today's session over here. Okay, yeah, good. Now, just a quick one to let the page load a little bit. Okay, just a quick one for everyone to know a little bit. Okay, I mean, some of you who have been following us since I would say a good part of last year would be aware of this, right? But since the new year, just kind of remind again, for everyone who wants to actually join us, right now it's still free. I'm not sure how long this is gonna be free for everyone. Okay, but we are having various speakers, various traders doing live sessions on the platform called Everything Trading. So if you head over to just head over to everythingtrading.com. Okay, you land on this page. If you are new to this, of course, you just need to hit sign up. Okay, you can sign up for a free account because right now all the live room you can actually attend for free. Okay, once you sign up for it, verify your account, you can just log in. Okay, so let me just show you once you log in what you will see. Okay, so once you log in over here, you can see all the upcoming live session, right? So as of now, it's still free, but we can't guarantee it's gonna be free forever, right? So since it's free right now, you may want to make full use of it. Okay, so I have 2 sessions per week. Okay, one is on Tuesday London market, okay, and one is on Wednesday London market. On Tuesday London session, I'll be sharing in Chinese on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I'll be doing it in English. Okay, there are also other speakers and traders over here. You can see Anil here is in the UK session every Tuesday. Daniel, which is Daniel is from Singapore, right? So he'll be doing the New York session both in English on Tuesday and Wednesday in the evening, right, during the New York session itself. So you can register for all of the sessions if you want. Right now it's still free, as I mentioned. Okay, so make full use of it. But again, I wouldn't know when it's gonna be turn off and then into a paid session, right? So of course right now you can register for all of them and you can attend all of them for free. All you need to do is just simply register for your free account right now. Okay, and of course if you look at left, aside from the live room session, there are a couple of various features that you can actually make full use of it right now. Again, it's all free at the moment. You can click through, like Signal Central. For some of you who are familiar with it, right, basically Signal Central will give you some ideas based on technical analysis as well. Okay. And then of course you have the for example over here, right? Okay, so you can pick up some ideas from this. You have like AI news sentiment indicator, etc. Right? Of course, I'm not gonna go into details of them today over here, but just very quickly walking through so that you'll be able to explore them, right? And of course, if you're very new to trading, they have an inbuilt basic forex course as well. You can look through that as well. Okay. Yeah, so I hope that's clear. Again, just make full use of it right now, since it's free. It has been free for some time, right? Since like I think Q3, Q4 last year. So going into this year itself, I'm not sure, would they extend this to the end of the first quarter of this year, which is March, or maybe, just the first month of it. But anyway, since now you can maximize it, I will encourage, if you can make it, even if you can't make it in my session, it's fine, right? You can always join other traders session. Use this as an opportunity to pick up learning points, right? Learn from various traders as well, the different strategies and approaches in the market. That may give you some ideas and insights in the market. All right. Okay, last one here we'll talk about is the Euro Pound. Okay. So very quickly, if I were to look at Euro Pound, I can't take this out of my entire watch list already because I just don't like trading this pair, right? But I think just very quickly, what I'm looking now is on the daily scale first, right? I think we may see a little bit more downside on the daily. Okay, with this primary projection as a three-wave move, right? And then on a 4-hour time frame perspective, okay, we have the move to the downside here as well, which is pretty neat. Okay, and of course this may be a first push down. Okay, so what you would likely want to see is kind of a corrective pullback. If you can get that, of course, that would be a decent sell trade opportunity. Pull in a little bit of a fit area over here. Okay, that would be the projection. Okay, this level, somewhere around 8500, which is a very nice psychological number as well, right? Okay, so yeah, that's the general outlook, right? Of course, you can also add in some visual reference in terms of like a trend line over here, which potentially coincides quite nicely anyway, right? Okay, for UK FTSE, seems to be testing this for now, right? I'm actually gonna be saying, probably want to be a little bit cautious at the moment. Okay, let me just take this. Okay, you're gonna be cautious at the moment because the market hasn't really break out of this area impulsively, right? Kind of tests it and then comes back down. Okay, and of course we also have a little bit of support here based on that trend line, right? So of course if this just comes down corrective, I would suggest you can consider a breakout trade to the upside. Okay, if it doesn't break out to the upside, there might be a good possibility this would come down and retest the bottom first, right? Okay, and then only take off, right? Yeah, so we are kind of at the crossroad here, right? So you just want to give it time and see how the market is going to react off the zone. Okay, yeah, this zone here is crucial. Okay, Euro Yen quite clear is downside. I mean on the daily it's very clear. Okay, so 4 hour, you probably want to just consider focus on the sell side. Okay, so this one here, you can see how we're gonna look at it is this is a 3-wave move to the upside, right? And we'll kind of get a 3-wave move to the downside over here. So that's a possibility. This is building a 3-wave push to the upside as well, right? So short term, what we're expecting is this may come down a little bit, and then we'll get another push, and then after that you'll be focusing on the sell. Okay. So overall, that would also then would give you a bigger 3-wave move that looks something like that. Okay. So from a fit level perspective, the projection for here, we'll be looking at this area. Okay. So of course, it'll be a quite nice little alignment, I think. If you take from swing high to swing low, that's where your 618 would likely be as well, right? Okay, so I think Euro Yen, quite clear, right? Quite similar to some of the yen pairs over here, right? Short-term upside, and after that, we're looking at the downside as well. Dollar yen is a little bit different, but we have the dollar in play, right? Which kind of makes things a little bit complex. But I think overall, like Euro yen, pound yen, odd yen, we're looking at the downside. Okay. Odd franc here is upside. Okay, so okay, this has came down. This has been coming down for some time, right? Again, if you're looking at, I mean, upside here, I'm not referring to like a major trend shift, right? But we're looking at this has taken that low, price has taken off that low, and then right now we're kind of had a little bit of a bounce, right? We have a little bit of a bounce, so we are expecting a decent pullback, okay? Because the market is not gonna move in one direction at a time, right? With this bounce here, we expect a little bit of a pullback. Again, depending on how conservative or aggressive in terms of your target areas, obviously you just look at some simple key zones, right? Like previous support, resistance kind, as a reference point. Okay, so I would say dollar franc, at least for the short term, you may want to consider look for a buy trade. Okay, if you can get continuation of a corrective pattern here, then of course, a good chance that we'll see a little bit more upside to complete a 3-wave structure, right? So this is what we're expecting right now. Okay. Yeah. So that's my take on some of these other pairs that you guys requested. Okay. Yep. So that's all for me for today. I hope the sessions today gave you some ideas in terms of the outlook for the week. Some of the things to take note of as well. Okay, and all the best for trading this week here. Okay, for those of you who are able to join me in Tuesday sessions for the London market as well as the Wednesday session, then I'll see you in that particular sessions respectively. Okay, so that's all. I'm gonna end off the session over here. All the best, and I'll see you guys in the next one.